Hello! I hope that your reading in this January has been going well. I know that I've read a few good books, but I also have some reading goals for the new year, for 2018. And I wrote them all down. I'm going to share some of them today. My number one goal is to have fun reading and not to focus on the numbers so much. Even with that being said, I did set a Goodreads goal of 55 books. I usually do read around that naturally every year anyways. But what I mean by that is I want to pick up the books that I'm really excited to read and make time for those books, because I realized when I reflected on last year that some of the books that I read weren't necessarily the books that I was the most excited for. I did read a lot of good books last year, but I just want to make sure that I'm reading the books and making time for the books that I really want to get to. And then this kind of goes along with that idea, but I want to read at least one classic a month. And I know I've seen this idea on different people's channels, and I've been wanting to read more classics. And I have so many classics that I want to get to. I wrote down a few of the authors that I want to make sure I get to their works, and that is the Bronte sisters, Charles Dickens. I've only read The Christmas Carol by him, and I want to read some of his novels, Shakespeare, John Steinbeck, and some Jane Austen. And there are other classics that I want to read too, but those are some of the authors that I've been meaning to read for a long time and have never gotten to. And the other thing is I want to read at least one nonfiction book a month. And I usually do this naturally. I usually pick some kind of a nonfiction book and read it throughout the month, but I guess I just wanted to make it more of a goal. One thing about that is that I own a lot of nonfiction books. Last year, I listened to a lot of nonfiction books as audiobooks. And so I want to actually read some of my physical nonfiction books, and so I think that goal will help me with that. There are a few books that I want to make sure that I read next year, and two of them I have with me I'm more intimidated by. And the first of those is Les Mis by Victor Hugo. I am intimidated by how big of a book this is, but I'm also very excited to get to it, and I've been wanting to read this book for years. So that is like the top book that I want to read this year. And then the other one is more of a series, which I started yesterday, and it's The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I tried to read this series 2 years ago, and I got halfway through the first book, and I kind of lost interest. I got to the part, if you've read it or seen the movies, where the Fellowship of the Rings had formed and they were talking in the Council of Elrond, that part of the book, and the dialogue was going on for a while. I know that there was around 50 pages of just talking about the history of the ring and different things, and I didn't care at the moment when I was reading it, but this is a book that I've always wanted to read. So I'm hoping that this year I will read, well, all three books. I want to read the whole series. And then there are two other books that I want to make sure that I get to, and those are the Iliad, because I've never read the entire Iliad. I want to definitely read it this year. And then also The Queen of the Tyrian. I want to read that book because I've heard I've heard different people say that they love it, and the premise sounds very interesting to me, so I need to get to that book. So those are my reading goals. I don't have that many, and I'm trying not to have so many strict outline of rules and how I'm going to read, because I've noticed that I don't really like doing TBRs. I want to get away from planning everything that I'm going to read and kind of just start to pick up the books that I feel like reading. And then for BookTube goals, let's see. I want to make book reviews for the books that I love, and I think that I did a good job of this last year, but something that I've realized is I prefer making book reviews to wrap-up videos. So I would rather have a book review where I can say all the things that I want to about the book rather than trying to figure out what I can say in a certain amount of time in a wrap-up video. And then the other one is to be more active in readathons and book clubs, because that's a big part of BookTube in general, is the community. So I want to be more active in doing those things. And then my other goals that aren't necessarily book or reading related, the first one has to do with painting and drawing. I've always been a really creative person, and I've loved to draw and paint as a child, but I've never really taken a lot of art classes in college or high school. I think I only took one, so I want to learn how to do those things better. The other one is to finish my second draft of the novel that I'm working on. I'm at 60,000 words right now, and I don't have too much more to go, but it's been a slower process than I thought it would be. I keep looking back and seeing things that need work and things that need to be changed, and then I think that kind of discourages me as I'm rewriting where I am working. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so it's hard for me to work on something and to continue working on something even if I don't think it's perfect. So that's a big goal of mine. I definitely want to finish it this year, and hopefully towards the beginning of the year. I'm actually going to be transferring to a new college, so that's exciting, but it also means that there will be a lot of transition and change and moving, so I'm excited, but I'm also like nervous about meeting new people, and it'll be a process. So those are all of my goals for this year, my reading, BookTube, and other goals. I hope that your goals have been going well so far in the year, and that your reading has too. And I'll see you next time.